So thanks for staying with us as we continue with the Olympics amidst the turmoil of events with the Jamaica Athletic Administrative Association, the J3As. Jamaica's hammer thrower, Nayoka Clunis, will not, up to this point, be going to the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. Clunis was chosen by the J3As after the Jamaica Olympic Association trials last month, or the national trials. However, due to admitted negligence, her name was inadvertently not submitted to World Athletics, and her spot was taken by Irina Klimets of the Ukraine. The 28-year-old's legal team filed an appeal with the Court of Arbitration for Sport CAS ad hoc division, who said the application could not be entertained on the basis that it was filed outside the jurisdiction, as the issue arose outside the 10-day window for disputes relating to the Olympic Games. While acknowledging the unfairness to Clunis, the CAS panel emphasized that it could not assume jurisdiction beyond its defined limits. And here's exactly what they said. The application filed by Mrs. Nayoka Clunis, who sought a decision from CAS ad hoc division directing that she be included on the appropriate list to participate in the hammer throw competition at the Olympic Games in Paris, could not be entertained as it was filed outside the jurisdiction of the CAS ad hoc division Paris 2024. As a consequence, the case could not be reviewed on the merits. At all times, we, the J3As, they are now saying, have been supported, this is J3A's comment, the athletes' participation at the Olympic Games, and in fact had petitioned World Athletics to include her in the list of participating athletes, even if it meant increasing the number of participants to 33. World Athletics did not alter their position of 32 participants, but maintained that if any vacancy arises, it would be allocated to her. Notwithstanding the above, CAS also made note that the respondent, the J3As, would have been unable to provide the relief being sought by the applicant Clunis, and that World Athletics and the IOC would be the ones that could provide that relief. Clunis is a four-time Jamaica national champion and current national record holder, and this is an amazingly horrifying story, Mariah, because it is a case of an athlete who has worked hard, who has qualified, and because of an administrative follow-up, now finds herself on the outside of the Paris Olympic Games.
Yeah, it's a nightmare for any athlete. And you know, Lance, we had Syed Bernard, one of our attorneys, on the show, and the last thing he said to us was that he was not getting correspondence from the J3As. So today, you know, we sit on this show and we talk about the fact that Nayoka Clunis will not be going to the Olympics. That must be devastating for the athlete. It must be devastating for those around her who are very, very close to her, talking about coaches, you know, coaching staff and all of that. Second thing is, you know, just the manner in which everything unfolded, the time and all of that. So I think it's a messy situation. It's one that no athlete wants to get themselves involved in. And I'm hoping that we can speak to her attorneys later this week.
Yeah, because I get the feeling that this story won't end here. No. I know there is still a remote possibility that she competes if, in fact, some other of the 32 athletes drop out of the competition. She could get in at that point. But if that doesn't happen, I suspect that Clunis and her attorneys will want to take some legal action against the J3As, who have admitted culpability here, because it was their error that caused her name not to be put through to the World Athletics, to be part of the 32. So they have admitted that they made an error. They say that it had happened because of the Hurricane Beryl, and they had lost power, electricity, and internet access, which prevented them from double-checking the list and so on. But that seems a very feeble response, given the magnitude of this story.
You spoke just now and said if there's a space and then she gets the opportunity to go. Lance, no athlete wants to go last minute. And I get it, it's a Paris Olympics and it's a dream of many people. They've worked so hard for this moment. But can you imagine first of all, you go through all of this trauma, just the mental aspect and the back and forth that she would have dealt with mentally. Then you get this last minute call, which you're not even sure that's going to happen, to go to the Olympics. You wonder now if you see the best of the athletes. And for me, you speak about the foul-up plans, and I think this is so unacceptable on all different fronts, because it's not just a backyard competition. It's Paris 2024. It's what a lot of athletes spend time, effort, energy, money on preparing for. And again, just a complete nightmare.
Yeah, and we do expect that we may talk to her attorneys at some point this week, because initially she had appeared unwilling to say too much prior to the CAS appeal. But I think she was on social media in the past 24 hours ranting and expressing her not only disappointment, but her anger at what has happened to her. Because on the face of it, this story looks almost unbelievable. You know, it's very, very difficult for athletes to cope in situations like these, because she has been punished and she's been the victim in a situation where she had no part. In fact, the part that she played was a positive part, because she did enough to get to the Olympic Games and she qualified to compete in the Olympic Games, and she was picked by the J3As to be at the Olympic Games, and the J3As in the same breath by their malfunctioning administration didn't complete the job of ensuring that she got to Paris.
So what's the moral of the story for this? What do we learn from this, Lance? Do you think anything changes going forward? Will errors be minimized moving forward?
Well, first of all, I believe that the person responsible for this error should no longer have this function with the J3As. That person should lose his or her job. It's as simple as that. Not that that corrects the situation, because the situation is already the damage has already been done. But from the optics and, you know, the fans looking on, people would feel at least some sense of a corrective measure being put in place if it is that they are informed that the person responsible for this doesn't have that job anymore.
Yeah.
To me, it's the best that the J3As can do in an awful situation.
Yeah, another athlete, Kemba Nelson, over the past 24 hours or so, has gone to social media also to say that she won't be going to the Olympics because she's not needed anymore. Just the different tweets that I would have seen on X and the manner in which this story came to light as well, to me, a bit confusing. I'm very curious about all the background aspects as to what gets us to this position on, I want to say, the eve, because competition starts tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, track and field doesn't start until next weekend, but the fact is that she had been placed on the team as an alternate.
Yes.
So she was sort of a standby, if you want to put it that way. And from our information, in a situation like that, she would pay her way to Paris and then be reimbursed if it is that she was needed. And for her, it was just a messy situation that she felt unsure about. And given all that has happened with the J3As in the past week, I don't think you can fault an athlete for feeling unsure about, you know, the administrative efficiency of the J3As. So this is another story that just puts a negative light on the administration of track and field in the country.
Not a good look at all, especially in a few days before Olympics. Our producer is talking about Anthony Cox as well.
Yeah, I think he was in a similar position where he was an alternate. And, you know, there were some changes to the selection process at the national trials this year. And there was a time, you know, Mariah, I remember in the late 1980s and the early 1990s when the late president of the Jamaica Athletics governing body, Teddy McCook, had sought to put a selection process in place that had little or no discretionary application of how teams were selected. It was just straight performances at the trials, and you make the top 3 or you're in the top 5 or 6, and there's no debate or discretionary application of whether you would be selected or not. And I just think that while tweaks have been made to the national trials in how they select teams for World and Olympic Games, it is adding a discretionary facet to the selection process that, to me, creates situations like these where it's going to be hard for some people to digest the decisions made, because it is up to a panel or up to people making a decision as opposed to just a straight performance deciding whether you're in or out. In the USA, it's just straight performance. You go to
correct.
the trials, you finish top 3, you finish top 6. Top 3, you compete in the individuals. Top 6, you make the relay frame, and that's just how it is. If you don't make that frame, you're just out. And I think there are benefits to doing it that way.
Yeah.
Because when you do it that way, you are in a position where no one can say that you've had a biased approach to your selection process. Now, speaking of the Olympic Games, the opening ceremony is only 3 days away on Friday. Competition kicking off on Wednesday, of course, with men's football and rugby sevens. And here on The Zone, we continue our special features surrounding this summer's highly anticipated games. It's Tuesday, and that means it's time for our Eyes on Paris feature. Here's Gerard Morseely.
In all things Olympics, this is Eyes on Paris. Jamaican diver Yona Knight Wisdom says being named men's captain for the Paris team is a huge honor, as he didn't anticipate the selection. Having been named captain alongside multiple Olympic and world champion Shelley and Fraser Price on Friday as the countdown to the Paris Olympic Games enters its final days. Knight Wisdom, who is based in Scotland, says his selection as captain shows the strength of the Jamaican diaspora. Trinidad and Tobago quarter miler The Dream Richards says his season is coming together in perfect timing after producing a 44.18 seconds personal best performance in the men's 400 meters at the London Diamond League meet on Saturday. The performance put Richards in second spot on the all-time Trinidad and Tobago 400 meter list, behind national record holder Marcel Cedeno, who clocked 44.01 seconds. Richards says his end goal is to be able to say that he is an Olympic medalist. News in tennis, Alexander Zverev is confident of claiming his second Olympic gold medal at the Paris Games, despite picking up an injury at Wimbledon earlier this month. The 27-year-old, who became the first German to win an Olympic gold medal in singles action since Steffi Graf, who accomplished the feat in 1988, beat Karen Khachanov in the final in Tokyo 3 years ago. Four-time NBA champion LeBron James has been selected by his Team USA peers across all sports to be the flag bearer at the Olympic opening ceremony. The two-time gold medalist will lead a boat of American athletes Friday down the River Seine, the path site of the opening ceremony. This has been Eyes on Paris. Until next time, au revoir.